is a story you have been telling yourself. It is a good story, it is flattering and not entirely wrong. But it is not the full truth. The story goes something like this. You are the wise one, the one who sees clearly when others are clouded by emotion, the one who plans, who reads the room, who understands power without needing to hold it. You are the strategist, the advisor, the one who gave the right counsel and was ignored, and who watched from a distance as the thing you predicted came true. You have found a name for this version of yourself. Most INFJs have, and the name is Athena. And here's where I want to pause. Because this identification, you as Athena, the goddess of wisdom and strategy, is one of the most seductive misreadings in the entire landscape of INFJ psychology. It is not wrong in the way that being called extroverted is wrong. It is wrong in a subtler way, the way an almost accurate map is wrong, close enough that you keep navigating by it, wrong enough that you keep arriving somewhere slightly off from where you needed to be. The problem is not the wisdom. You do carry wisdom. The problem is the origin story you have borrowed. Athena's origin, Athena's role, Athena's relationship to power. Because if you understand what Athena actually was inside the Greek mythological framework, you will see very quickly that she is not your ancestor. She is your civilized cousin. She is what happened when the older force that runs through you got absorbed into the institutional order and made respectable. You are not the respectable version. You never were. So today I want to map something out. A hierarchy of mythological identification for the Sigma INFJ. Not a list of goddesses you could choose between based on which sounds most appealing. A genuine classification of the mythological archetypes that correspond to different levels of psychological integration in the INFJ type. And what I want to show you is this. The further back in mythological time you go, the more accurately the archetype describes what you actually are. Athena is an Olympian. The Olympians are the youngest generation of Greek deities. They are the gods of civilization, of order, reason, warfare, craft, and commerce. They run the cities. They make the laws. They are the gods that the empire endorses. But before the Olympians, there were older forces. Forces that did not belong to any city. Forces that existed at the threshold, in the dark, in the space between sleeping and waking, between the known world and what lies beyond it. Those forces have names, and their names are a far more honest mirror for what the Sigma INFJ actually carries. Let us start with the misidentification, because it is worth understanding why it is so common. Athena is brilliant. She is described in myth as grey-eyed, which scholars have read as the colour of deep perception, a gaze that reaches beyond ordinary sight. She emerged fully formed from the head of Zeus, which is to say she arrived already complete, already armoured, already knowing. She is associated with wisdom, strategic intelligence, craft and precision. She does not lose herself in emotion. She advises kings. She appears at moments of crisis and tilts the balance through clarity alone. Is it any wonder INFJs see themselves in her? But here is what Athena also is. She is the goddess of Athens. She is the deity who made a city, who presided over civic order, legal process, architecture, and democracy. She is fundamentally an institutional force. Her wisdom is in service to civilization. Her purpose is to make the human world function well. Even her famous interventions helping Odysseus and arming Perseus are always in service of a goal that ends in homecoming, in restoration, in the proper order returning to itself. The Sigma INFJ does not serve the established order. The Sigma INFJ sees through it. This is the fault line in the identification. Athena's wisdom is deployed inside the system. The Sigma INFJ's wisdom is most itself when it stands outside the system and names what the system cannot see about itself. That is not Athena's function. That is the function of something far older. Here is the classification. 4 mythological archetypes, arranged not by worth but by psychological depth, and by how far back in the mythological record they actually appear. The further back, the closer to what is genuinely running underneath the Sigma INFJ experience. The level of integration this represents is real, but it is early. It is the INFJ who has learned to make their gifts legible to the institutional world, who has found a way to translate their perception into something organizations can use, something boardrooms can invite in, and departments can budget for. There is nothing wrong with this. It is a stage, but it is not full expression. The Sigma INFJ, who lives only as Athena, has made a trade, precision for palatability, and they usually know it. We are now in older mythological territory. The Sibyl was not a goddess. She was a mortal woman who had claimed, or been given, the gift of prophecy. And what is extraordinary about her as a mythological figure is precisely her relationship to the civilized world. She sat outside the city. Emperors and generals consulted her at moments of crisis. She told the truth, and she was consistently misunderstood, underestimated, or dismissed until the crisis she had foreseen was already unfolding. This is not Athena's story. This is the story every Sigma INFJ knows from the inside. The knowing before the event, the counsel given and ignored, the long, strange relationship with a world that comes to you when it needs something and overlooks you the rest of the time. The Sibyl was the keeper of the Sibylline books, which were said to contain the destiny of Rome. She tried to sell them to a king. He refused the price. She burned half of them and returned with the remaining books at the same price. He paid. What she held was so rare that the world eventually understood it could not afford to keep losing it. If you have ever watched someone dismiss your perception and then watched events unfold exactly as you foresaw them, you already know what it is to be the Sibyl. This is where we move into genuinely pre-Olympian territory. Hecate is one of the oldest surviving figures in the Greek tradition. She predates the Olympian pantheon. She was there before Zeus organized the cosmos into its familiar hierarchy. When the Olympians took power, she was not dethroned, she was kept, because even the gods understood that what she represented could not be removed from the world without the world breaking. She holds dominion over crossroads, over thresholds, over the space where one thing ends and another has not yet begun. She is the only deity in the Greek mythological record who moves freely between the world of the living and the underworld. She carries torches not to illuminate the ordinary world but to see in the dark. The Sigma INFJ lives at the crossroads, not as a metaphor. The capacity to stand in the liminal space, to be present to endings and beginnings simultaneously, to hold the tension between worlds without collapsing into either, this is Hecate's domain, and it is the domain the INFJ knows better than almost anyone. The Sigma INFJ is the one who can sit with someone in their darkest passage and not flinch, who can see the threshold ahead when the person standing at it cannot see it themselves, who carries the torch into places where ordinary intelligence simply does not function. Hecate was also associated with knowledge that the Olympian order considered dangerous, herbal knowledge, the understanding of fate, the wisdom of things that cannot be institutionalized, certified, or controlled. This too is part of the Sigma INFJ's inheritance. Not the wisdom that makes you useful to the city, the wisdom that unsettles the city. This is the deepest level of identification in this hierarchy, and the least discussed. Mnemosyne is memory, not memory in the ordinary sense of recalling where you left your keys. Memory as the container of all meaning. In Greek mythology she was a Titaness, which means she belonged to the generation that preceded the Olympians entirely. She was the mother of the 9 muses, which is to say all creativity, all art, all poetry, all music, all history, all philosophy, everything that makes a life worth living flows from her. Before anything can be made, there must be the capacity to hold what has been. The muses are the daughters of memory. The Sigma INFJ's relationship to pattern, to meaning, to the deep reading of human experience across time. This is Mnemosyne's territory. The capacity to hold the long view, to sense the pattern underneath the surface event, to see not just what is happening but what it means in the context of everything that has happened before. This is not strategic intelligence. This is something much older. The recognition that meaning is not manufactured, it is remembered. So here is the honest classification. Most INFJs who identify with Athena are operating from a partially integrated version of their gifts. They have found a way to make their perception useful in the world's terms. This is valuable. It is also a compression of what they actually are. The Sibyl is the INFJ who has accepted that their knowing will not always be welcomed, and who has learned to hold it anyway, who has stopped trying to make their perception convenient and started trusting its precision, regardless of whether the world is ready to receive it. Hecate is the INFJ who has made peace with the liminal nature of their existence, who no longer tries to belong fully to either world, and who has recognized that the threshold itself is the home, who carries the torch not because they expect gratitude, but because the dark is where the real work happens. Mnemosyne is the INFJ who understands that they are not here to optimize the civilized order. They are here to hold the thread of meaning across time, to be the living memory of what matters, to ensure that the deep pattern is not lost when the surface world accelerates past the point of comprehension. These are not separate archetypes you must choose between. They are a hierarchy of depth. Each one requires more integration to embody than the last. Each one demands more willingness to stand apart from the world's approval, and each one corresponds to a real and recognizable experience inside the Sigma INFJ psychology. The question is not which archetype you prefer, the question is which one you are actually living, and which one, further back, older than anything Olympus offers, is waiting for you to come home to it. Athena is brilliant, she is worth knowing, she is part of the inherited vocabulary, but she was made respectable. She was installed in the city. She was given temples, civic festivals, and a permanent place in the official pantheon of things the world agreed to recognize. What you carry was never made respectable. It predates that project entirely. The Sibyl sat at the edge of the empire and held what the empire needed but refused to acknowledge. Hecate lit the crossroads when everyone else had gone indoors. Mnemosyne held the memory of what mattered when the new gods were busy dividing up the world between them. You are not the goddess of the city. You are the one who was here before the city was built, and you will be here long after it has finished deciding what to do with you. Knowing where you sit in this mythological hierarchy is not an exercise in self-mythology. It is precise information about the kind of depth work your life is asking of you. It tells you which patterns to stop trying to conform to, which gifts to stop apologizing for, and which older, quieter, more dangerous form of yourself you are in the process of becoming. Which archetype named you? Athena, the Sibyl, Hecate, Mnemosyne. Tell me in the comments not which one sounds most appealing, but which one landed with the particular weight of recognition, the one that felt less like a discovery and more like a reminder. Your answer matters here. It helps others find the mirror they came looking for. The next video in this series, the Sigma INFJ and Hecate, Why You Were Built for the Threshold, goes deeper into the Hecate archetype, specifically the Threshold Keeper, the INFJ who has learned to make the liminal space a home rather than a waiting room. It is worth watching alongside this one. Until next time, find your power, know your myth.